Alright, guys, it is Monday, September 26th, 2022 at 12:37 p.m. Alright, let's begin with the verse of the day from dailyverses.net. It says, Preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season, correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. 2 Timothy 4:2. Alright, guys, let's get to the ball game. Guys, we have a hurricane on our hands. Previously, I was covering Ian, and it hadn't formed into what looks like a hurricane, but now we have a ball game. All right, we have Hurricane Ian, with 70 wind knots, maximum sustained winds at 80 miles an hour. Minimal central pressure 980 millibars. Located at 19.1 north, 82.7 west. Movement northwest at 11 knots or 13 miles an hour. Then we have, surprise, surprise, off the coast of Africa, a disturbance 1 with 70% chance of cyclone formation in 48 hours. Shower and thunderstorm activity associated with the area low of pressure located several hundred miles west of the Cabo Verde Islands is showing signs of organization this morning. Environmental conditions appear conducive for additional development, and a tropical depression is likely to form during the next couple of days. Before upper level winds becomes less favorable toward the end of the week, the system is expected to meander during the next day or two, then move slowly northwestward. Formation chance through 48 hours, high at 70%, and formation chance through 5 days, high at 70%. So we have another storm possibly developing right off the coast of Africa. So we got 1-2 punch in the Atlantic. Let's head into Ian and see what the Hurricane Center has to say about Hurricane Ian. We got key messages for Hurricane Ian: life-threatening storm surge, hurricane force winds, flash floods, and possible mudslides are expected in portions of western Cuba beginning this evening and continuing into Tuesday. Devastating wind damage is possible where the core of Ivan moves across western Cuba. Efforts to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. Life-threatening storm surge is possible along much of the Florida west coast, where the highest risk from Fort Myers to the Tampa Bay region. Residents in these areas should listen to advice given by local officials. 3. Hurricane force winds are possible in the hurricane watch area in west central Florida beginning Wednesday morning, with tropical storm conditions possible by late Tuesday. Residents in this area should ensure that they have hurricane plan in place. Heavy rainfall will increase across the Florida Keys and South Florida on Tuesday, spreading to central and northern Florida Wednesday and Thursday, potentially causing flash, urban, and small stream flooding. Significant prolonged river flooding is likely across central Florida. Guys, the storm is not joking, so please get prepared. Have everything you need. Here is the time for the storms. By Tuesday, a major hurricane once it passes off the coast of Cuba. By 8 p.m. on Tuesday, a major hurricane. By 8 a.m. on Wednesday, a major hurricane as it gets closer to the Florida western side, past the Keys. 8 p.m. on Wednesday, a major hurricane. By 8 a.m. on Thursday, it goes down from being a major hurricane to a hurricane, meaning that it decreases in intensity. I do not know what is the true cause of it downgrading from a major hurricane to a hurricane. Maybe shear or something else, but usually storms really intensify right before a landing, so who knows if this forecast is 100% accurate, so take it with a grain of salt. Alright, once it makes it up the west coast, it will then be a storm at 8 a.m. on Friday, and then by 8 a.m. on Saturday, it will be affecting Georgia, South Carolina, and the western part of North Carolina. So heads up for all those regions. Please make sure you have hurricane preparedness. Make sure you bolt down things that could fly off. Make sure you have sandbags if you are close to water, and make sure you take care of your pets because they are important too. Do not forget your pets. All right. Next, here is Hurricane Ian's tropical storm winds Speed probabilities. These are the areas you see here, the western side of Florida, from Tampa all the way up to the Panhandle, are in high tropical cyclone probability for a higher wind forecast. As you get further into the Florida area, more to the east coast, the winds decrease, but they are still effective. So that means that there still could be damage from these winds, even though you're not on the west coast. So please make sure you are prepared for this hurricane. This is going to come in over Cuba, go into the western side of Florida. We don't know with 100% accuracy if it's going to go more west or more east. So please be prepared all the way from Mississippi all the way to the eastern side of Florida, because this storm is coming in hot. The major danger, of course, is winds, but the second major danger is rainfall. So here we have the U.S. rainfall for the area. 20 inches is that tiny spot right here in the middle of the the Gulf area off of Tampa. So it's going to be bringing a lot of rain in the water. But off the coast, right, the Tampa region, we have 15 inches possible, from 10 to 15 inches possible off the coast of Tampa. So make sure that if you live in this area, that you know that there's a high probability of flooding. So please make sure you're off the streets and you're safe. If you have to evacuate, do so. My advice first is to not stay, but if you have to stay, make sure you hunker down and take care of the possibility that there could be high flooding in that region. So please be aware of that. The rest of the areas have 6 to 10 inches on the western side of Florida still, and then 4 to 6 inches of flooding in the middle of Florida. So it's still a lot of possibility of flooding. Hurricanes are wind and water. The wind, strong destruction, the water, flooding, and it's dangerous. So please make sure you have everything prepared for this possible storm. Alright, guys. Here we have the greatest flash flood risk over the next 3 days. These are the areas that have the possibility of high flood risk. All the way from the Tampa Bay area, all of Orlando, all of the middle part of Florida right here. The next slight, at least 15%, is below Tampa all the way to Miami, and then Jacksonville all the way to Tallahassee. So we have very high chances of flooding or high flood risk in the next 3 days. So please be prepared and aware of this situation. Alright, guys, let's take a look now at the satellite images so you guys know what we're dealing with. Here's Ian. Here is the monster himself. We got Ian, highly dangerous hurricane starting to form. It started to form really into a hurricane last night. I was watching it, keeping an eye on the satellite images and everything. But it started to form into a what started to look more like a hurricane it was last night. And here we go. Here's what it looks like below Cuba. It looks like it means business. So please pray. One of the important things of this channel is we're prayers. We pray that God please diminish the effects of the storm and affect the least amount of people possible. So please pray for anybody ahead of this storm, the people in Cuba, the people in Jamaica, the people in Florida, the people in the Keys, everybody that's in boats. Please pray for them. Please pray that the storm falls apart and affects the least amount of people possible. So there's a small island here you see right there, right where the center of the hurricane is. So please pray for them as well. We are prayers. We pray to God to help anybody that has to deal with this storm. I just recently came across a tweet, and they were talking about how do you know if it's a bad hurricane. And the person in Florida replied to that person who asked when the Waffle House closes, and that is 100% accurate. The FEMA center basically know they have a gauge when a storm is bad. Once the Waffle House closes in an area, you know it's bad. So just be aware that I found that hilarious, but it is 100% accurate. FEMA itself measures an area being bad in a storm by the Waffle House index. Basically, if the storm is passed by and the Waffle House is still open, it wasn't that bad. But if the Waffle House closed, you know you're in trouble. We were also uh, aware that Jim Cantore landed, I think it was yesterday, in Clearwater, Florida, and my mom pretty much said, "Oh crap," because once Jim Cantore is involved, you know it's real. So yesterday we laughed about that for a little while, but it's real. Once you get Jim Cantore involved, you know it's either Jim Cantore, Reed Timmer. If they show up, you know the storm is real, and Reed Timmer's already on his way down uh, to Florida. So you know it's real. All right, guys. So let's see. This is another satellite image of the storm, so you get a better view of it. You see the rain bands already affecting uh, the Florida region right there, above the Keys, below Lake Eola, not Lake Eola, Lake Okeechobee. Sorry, right there across the band of Florida, below the big Great Lake in the Florida peninsula, and above the Keys. I'm trying to best describe where that strand of rain band is coming in right there. All right, guys. So as you see here, the Bahamas as well is getting some rain bands from the storm. So parts of Florida are already being affected by this hurricane. It is not a large effect like the main hurricane, but some of the bands are already extending out towards Florida. Look how large this hurricane is. It covers the majority of Cuba, so that's going to be a large rain band area over Florida once it reaches there. So if you think that just because you're on the East Coast that you won't be affected, make sure you know you will be, because this is a big storm and rain bands are going to reach, and it's going to be flooding possibilities, and as well as wind storm possibilities, the wind effects. So make sure you're aware that it's going to reach you. Alright, let's take a look at the spaghetti models. This is Hurricane Ian model track guidance. We have it going over the western side of Cuba, and then the spaghetti models diverge because we don't know exactly where it's going to go, whether it's going to go totally eastward or if it's going to go more towards the panhandle westward. You have a possibility range anywhere in between. We'll see how it plays out. I'll cover the best I can, making videos as the storm progresses, but pretty much make sure you realize that you have to bolt down the things that could fly off in the porch. Make sure you have your pets secured. Make sure you know that there's going to be at least 1 to 2 weeks without power possible. So just be prepared, guys. Be prepared. Alright, let's take a look. Alright, the Hurricane Ian model intensity guidance. They have a lot of the models saying it could possibly reach a Category 3, Category 4 range. Don't know exactly how accurate it is, but from 3 to 4 it is possible that it could reach Category 4. Yeah. So let's keep an eye on that. As I make videos, I'll cover to see what category it is. But here is again another image, satellite image of it. It's nestling perfectly in the curve of Cuba. It's just like Cuba's cupping it. It's like it fits perfectly in the Cuba. It's kind of like Cuba is holding it back from us in Florida. Alright, guys. And here are the current rain bands from the National Weather Service affecting Florida right now. This is Ian. The rain bands have already landed on the southern part of Florida. So please be aware that you are already being affected by Ian if you live in the southern part of Florida. From the Keys all the way up Miami, all the way below the lake, right there. Alright, guys, let's take a look again at another satellite image. Look how large this storm is. It's most of the width of Cuba. Once it gets close to Florida, this whole region is going to be covered in rain and storm. So please be aware, please be prepared, and pray, 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 guys. We need to pray that this storm weakens and it doesn't affect as many people as we think it could. Alright, guys, this has been a longer video. Thank you for stopping by. Hit like and subscribe for more news, and God bless you guys.